and new NXT Champion, Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker, your new NXT Champion, defeating Tommaso Ciampa in the main event of New Year's Evil last night by making him tap in the Steiner recliner. Goodness me. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of New Year's Evil. I am Chopper P. Quinnell. I'm joined by my intangible co-host, Tempest. And we're going to break it all down today. All of New Year's Evil. We're going to go through it. Get in your Ultrachats. If you have some thoughts about anything on the show, let us know at WrestleTalk.com/support. And said bin, because then we'll read them out, all the ones that are $5 and up by the time the show goes off the air. Also, yes, Tempest is coming to us from the void, apparently. So yeah,
from the Tempest Cave.
From the Tempest Cave. Yes, that's exactly it.
Tempest has COVID, y'all. Bam.
Tempest has COVID, y'all. So he is isolating. Yeah, in a hotel room, so that's fun. But lucky we still have Tempest for the show. So send him your well wishes, and yeah, he'll get better soon, hopefully. But regardless, let's get into
There's nothing that I love doing more when I have COVID than watching NXT.
Absolutely. Well, at least you got to watch a half decent show, because we're gonna talk about the main event of this show to start with, which was Bron Breakker versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship. I think a lot of people probably saw this one coming after Ciampa defeated Bron Breakker at Halloween Havoc, Bron Breakker pinning Ciampa at War Games. I think a lot of people probably saw Bron Breakker winning here in this New Year's Evil match, which did indeed happen. On the entrance, Bron Breakker smashed a big X of the old NXT logo. He broke it in two. Oh no, the old NXT is dead. That's on the nose, and also looked a bit bad because it looked like it was like polystyrene.
Yeah. And also not quite what I want my top star to do when it's generally acknowledged that everyone loves NXT, the old one, and not this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like Kylo Ren. The past is dead. Kill it if you have to. It's like, that's great if it's like the bad guy doing all that. I don't think Bron Breakker's supposed to be like, an evil Kylo Ren character.
No, he's just a guy who hates old because he's new, so he breaks the old logo. Whatever. The match itself, I thought, was decently fun. I thought it was a pretty good match, all things considered. They did a couple throwbacks to their previous thing with the one mistake he made at Halloween Havoc, where he slipped on the rope. He went to go do it another time in the match and then hesitated, and I was like, why even trying it? But he did it anyway, and Ciampa took advantage because he hesitated. Ciampa got busted open. Bron Breakker kicked out Willow's bell. My God, that's crazy. And then he did an Alabama slam through the commentary table. Wow, this is cool. Bron Breakker hit his big gorilla press power slam thing. You can tell he's still a little bit green because he went for the pin on both legs and then remembered that Ciampa was going to put one leg on the rope, and he was like, oh no, I need to pin the inside leg. But it was already too late because it was at a 2 count. So then Ciampa had to kick out by holding the rope with his hand instead of his leg, which I thought was quite funny. But you
could hear me go through that entire realization like in real time. Because anytime they're even remotely close to the ropes, I'm just like, well, this is the foot on the rope spot. And sure enough, he goes in and he grabs the outside leg, and it's like, oh, maybe they're not going to do it. Maybe this is the finish. And then it's not like, oh, he grabbed the rope with his arm, and I was like, oh, they got me. It was him going, oh, wrong leg. And he does a mad scramble to grab the inside leg instead. It's whatever.
Yeah, it was a little funny thing.
That much, but
no, it was just a little funny thing. Ciampa came back and did a ton of knee strikes, took the pad down and did a bunch of knee strikes to Bron Breakker. Got him back in, hit the fairy tale ending, 1, 2, and Bron Breakker kicked out. And I legitimately was like, whoa, that's nuts. After it was a proper flurry of knee strikes into the fairy tale ending, and Bron Breakker kicked out. It was a crazy near fall, that one. But then Bron Breakker came back, he did his thing off the second rope. He didn't make a mistake this time. He did a bulldog. Great. And then he did the Steiner recliner, took the straps down, Steiner recliner, made Tommaso Ciampa tap, and Bron Breakker is your new NXT champion. What did you think of the match overall, Tempest?
Overall, it was pretty good. You know, it was pretty solid. I think it's about as solid of a match as I think you can get out of Bron Breakker at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, you can obviously have like a crazy, unbelievable blow away match if it's like War Games where there's 7 other people involved and everything. You can dress it up, and obviously it's War Games, so there's a bunch of plunder and tomfoolery going on. But in a match like this, in a main event match, I think this is about his ceiling currently. You know, obviously, as he continues to progress, that ceiling will get higher and higher, or at least we hope it does. But currently, I think this is about what he is. I think he's about like, I thought it was like a 3-star main event, something like that, which is still a good match. It's a really good match. Like, it's good. It's good. It's just like, I saw some people saying that like this show was like takeover levels, and I was just like, what takeovers were you watching? Like the last year of takeovers, maybe? Where it's like, yeah, it's a solid show, but I mean, like, goodness, folks, have we already forgotten the heights the takeovers were at for so long? But otherwise, I mean, I thought the show was good overall. I thought this was like a decently good main event. You know, I think Bron Breakker winning the NXT Championship is the direction that I knew that they would go in, you know? But there were still some things that I didn't love about all this. I don't think that Tommaso Ciampa, the character, should ever be tapping out to lose the NXT Championship. And I know it's like, oh, you put him in the Steiner recliner, he's got a bad neck, all that sort of thing. I just don't think that his character should have lost a match like this by submission, at least not willingly tapping out. He could pass out or do whatever. But that also plays into the idea that I don't think any part of Tommaso Ciampa's title run this time around has been anywhere near as important as it should have felt, considering what it could have been. You know, like, he won it in like the semi-main event segment of that show because the Index Wedding was the main event, right? And this is Tommaso Ciampa. He, in my opinion, is the best NXT champion ever, you know, with his first run. At least one of the top tier of guys holding that title at the very least. Like, come on. Like, this title run should have been like, the climb back to the top of the mountain. He never lost the title. It means the most to him. It's taken him 2 years or however long it was to get back to this title. And he wins it in like a decent match in the middle of a show. He has like one title defense and then loses it again. And like, no part of this ever felt as important as I wanted it to. And it's just, it's disappointing, but I'm hoping that now that they've got the title on their 2.0 guy, they can put like more effort into the title picture, and hopefully we get better things out of it going forward.
Yeah, I think that the thing with Ciampa's character is I don't really feel like he is the same character as he was before. Like, since the 2.0 days, he's now just become like the last vestiges of NXT 1.0. And like, that's his whole character, is he's just like the 1.0 guardian now. And he's fending off the 2.0 guys. And that's the whole thing. Like, the whole stuff with Goldie and all that stuff, like, that doesn't really matter anymore because he's now the 1.0 guy that's stopping all the 2.0 guys from coming in. Like, his whole title run, him winning the title was just, he's the guy that's going to lose to Bron Breakker. That was the point. To me, it already felt like Bron Breakker was inherently already the NXT champion. It was just a matter of time before he beat Ciampa. So I was never invested in Ciampa as the champion this time because I knew he was just going to lose it to Bron Breakker down the line, kind of thing. So I didn't really, like you said, it just didn't feel very important this whole time round. But you know, it was still a decent match. I don't hate Bron Breakker as NXT champion. Like, again, it's not what I would do if I had the promotion or whatever, but like, I don't hate it. He's okay. He's probably the best, you know, new 2.0 guy that they've had come in, because I don't know if you count Carmelo Hayes as a 2.0 guy, maybe, I don't know. But he's definitely up there. He's interesting. He's fun. He's not Von Wagner at the very least. He's not, some of the other guys that have come in. He's got a lot of upside to him. And it was a decent match. Bron Breakker is NXT champion. I'm curious to see where they go from here. I'm curious to see what they do with Ciampa as well. And I don't know if that's a good curiosity or oh god, I don't know what they're going to do with him now kind of feeling. But we'll have to see, I guess.
Yeah. He hitched his wagon to NXT for better or worse. Sure did. And for a long time that was for the better. Now, maybe not so much. And I don't know if he stays in NXT forever. I don't know if he goes to the main roster. I don't know. I don't know what you do with Tommaso Ciampa. We're going to end up seeing what happens, obviously, but man, it's tough. It's interesting. I think they'll put more effort into the NXT title picture now that it's on their guy. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Bron Breakker is several levels below Tommaso Ciampa as a worker. So that doesn't especially when you now look at the NXT roster as opposed to what it was just a year ago, it doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence on the show going forward. Cause okay, we're going to get Bron Breakker against Tony D'Angelo, or we're going to get Bron Breakker against, I don't know, Von Wagner or something.
Grayson Waller.
Yeah. Or what's the guy that just got his head shaved? Duke Hudson. It's none of these matches get me excited really at all. And if the idea is still for Bron Breakker to defend against the other few remaining 1.0 guys, maybe a Cameron Grimes or a Pete Dunne or something like that, that's a bit better. But I'd also, I don't know, just like the good wrestlers to be in the main event. So I don't know. My opinion of it is just kind of all over the place. I'll wait to see how it all pans out to really judge it. But no, we'll see.
I think I just maybe enjoyed this more than I would have otherwise because there was some decent wrestling on this show, and that's more than I could normally say matches. For it. Yeah, and that's more than I could normally say for a normal episode of NXT. So I left the show going, that was better than normal. That was good. And maybe that's just conflating with an actual good idea to put the title on Bron Breakker and the future of that. Who knows? But let's see what you guys thought of the thing. Send in your Ultrachats to WrestleTalk.com/support. And we'll read out all the ones that are $5 and up by the time the show goes off the air. Riot DR comes in to say, so a Steiner is the main champion. Young guys are calling out the vets, and there's a pole match next week. This smells kind of Russo. Jokes aside, I'm happy Breakker, the magical Steiner, got his moment. It was nice.
Yeah, and Rick Steiner came out and was celebrating with him after the show went off the air.
He did, yes.
But he's not a Steiner.
He's not Steiner. He's Bron Breakker.
Rick Steiner's just a guy.
Yeah,
just a guy. He just decided to come out and celebrate. Rick Steiner hasn't been seen in WWE in 30 years. I don't know.
I don't know either. But apparently, did you hear that the Bron Breakker name was Bron Breakker's idea? That was him.
Well, that doesn't fill me with confidence. But
and he was saying his premise behind it. He was saying I just really like the idea of being the Breakker. I feel like that's a really cool name. I was like, why don't you call yourself the Breakker Rex Steiner? Have as a nickname, Why has it got 2 Ks in it? I don't know, man.
Why does it have 2 Ks in it?
Why does it have 2 Ks in it, man? Riot DR again said, I'm all right with Ciampa tapping out. In canon, being able to play with his daughter supersedes all else. And in kayfabe, a recliner/clutch is a spine destroyer. Also, why is Von Wagner? Great question.
You have no idea how many times I asked that in the edited review that will never be seen because technology sucks. I think again, we can all of us, Pete and I, and all of our listeners collectively can all theorize and come up with ideas and stuff. If they had Tommaso Ciampa come out and say that next week and be like, man, he put me in a recliner. I've got a bad neck. I wanted to think about running around and playing with my daughter. I'd be like, perfect explanation. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm totally sold. I don't believe for a second they're going to put that much thought into this. You know what I mean? I don't think they're ever going to mention it again.
No,
but
because
otherwise,
I don't think that puts over it enough, because they want Ciampa to just be like, no, he beat me. You know, he was just that good. I just tapped because he's great. And I think that's the explanation they want you to have.
Yeah. And I saw somebody say earlier, like, oh, Walter tapped out, so it's okay that Ciampa did it. And it's like the totally apples to oranges. Yeah. You know, nothing to do with one another. Walter tapping out is awesome because he is Goliath. He doesn't have like the emotional connection to the belt, you know, whereas Ciampa, like, the belt defined who he was during that first title reign. And I wanted that same connection with this title reign, and I never got it. And that was more my point. But I don't know. If they say that, if they connect it with the daughter thing, I love that idea, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, me neither. We'll get into more of your Ultra Chats later on. Keep sending those in at WrestleTalk.com/support, and we'll go through all the ones that are $5 and up by the time the show goes off the air. But for now, let's get into talking about the rest of New Year's Evil as we go through the rest of the show, which started off with the title unification match of Carmelo Hayes versus Roderick Strong. I feel like they sort of shouldn't have said that the winner will be called the North American Champion before the match, because it kind of gave away who was going to win. A
little bit.
I don't know, because they just said, like, I mean, it's a title unification match, but really what we're doing is retiring the Cruiserweight belt. Like, I feel like they should have said that, you know, whoever wins this match, their title is the defining title, which, again, would have given away who won, but at least in kayfabe, it keeps up the, you know, the pretense that both of these champions believe that their title is the title to have. Whereas they go, the winner of this match will be called the North American Champion. It's like, cool. So that's the important one. So Carmelo's winning. Good to know. Yeah.
And he did.
That was something. And he did. Clean as a sheet. He just won. No interference from Trick Williams or Diamond Mine. I
like that.
He just won.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a fun match.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's a very fun match. There was a weird superplex spot where, like, Roddy, like, I think that I don't know what was supposed to happen here. And I don't know if it was actually a botch or, like, it was supposed to look that way and it was supposed to be like, oh, both of them got, like, really bad off this. I have no idea. I was very confused coming out of it because, like, Roddy fell off the ropes. It was like a controlled fall off the ropes. And then Carmelo Hayes, like, flipped off the ropes like he was going to do a superplex, but also he then landed and he did the pin on Strong. And I was like, wait, who came off worse on that? Was very confused with that spot. No idea what happened. But then he got up and did his leg drop afterwards and Carmelo won. So good. Yeah. North American champion Carmelo Hayes. Great.
Yeah. I thought that Trick Williams was really overacting in this match. You know?
Yep.
Like, I couldn't not look at him the whole time. Like, my eyes were just glued on him, which is not what you want from, like, a second or whatever. You want them to add to the match and not be a distraction like that. I don't know. It might be kind of nitpicky, but, like, man, I was just watching him, and he was just, like, freaking out the whole time. And not in a Malcolm Bivens, big eyes, you know, goofball heel manager kind of way. It was just like, all right, let's turn it down a little bit there, pal.
Turn it down.
But just turn it a little bit. But I thought this match was really good. It didn't, not surprising, obviously, as these are two of the guys that are still, like, really top level workers in NXT, and that's really good stuff. You know, I think that it's really sad that we had really high expectations for an NXT Cruiserweight Championship push very recently.
Hey, reported big plans for that Cruiserweight belt. You know, it's going to be like one of the top featured belts in NXT, you know?
They fired the entire 205 Live roster like 2 weeks after that. But regardless, that's in the past. As for this show, it's fine. There really isn't an NXT Cruiserweight Championship division. I mean, Joe Gacy was challenging for the damn belt at the last show. So, like, who cares? We're not really losing that much. We don't need that many belts on a show like this. And Carmelo Hayes, I think, is one of it probably at this point is my favorite NXT guy. You know what I mean? As far as I don't really expect a big push out of any of the other 1.0 guys. And he is really talented. I want to see him ascend. I want to see him keep having great matches. And if he's going to do that as North American champion, I'm all about it. This is a really, really solid little opener here, and I think the right guy won.
I agree with every point that you just made. We then got a backstage segment with Tommaso Ciampa and AJ Styles, who was on this show. AJ came in and he was like, good luck defending that belt. And then he walked off, and Ciampa said, welcome back to NXT. And I was like, AJ wasn't from NXT. What are you talking about, Ciampa? It's weird.
She doesn't even go here.
Yeah. it's just weird. It's just a weird line.
Odd.
That's fine. We then got the announcement that the Dusty Tag Team Classic is returning. The men's tournament starts in 2 weeks, and the women's tournament starts in February. Great.
Oh boy, the women's tag team tournament with 2 teams.
Wait,
there are 2 teams and the champions.
Yep, that is correct.
So
you're gonna get Raquel Gonzalez and Cora Jade as a team, probably. But how will they coexist?
My God.
Who else? Wendy Chu and Tiffany Stratton. I don't know. I'm just throwing names out now.
There's going to be so many of these thrown together teams. Many of them. Oh, the only teams they have are thrown together teams. At least Toxic Attraction have a name. That's something.
They're a group.
That's something. But they're the champions. Are they going to be in the tournament? They might have to be. They might have to be we're the tag team champions, but we want to prove again that we're the best tag team in NXT. Haha, we're going to win the Dusty Classic. And be like, I know what you're doing here. You can't fool me. You don't have 8 teams to fill out a bracket. They don't have 4 teams to fill out half a bracket.
So I might as well mention this now, because we're talking about the Dusty Tag Team Classic, because later on in the show, we had, after the MSK and Riddle versus Imperium match, which MSK and Riddle won, which I was not a fan of, but we'll talk about that more later. They had a segment in the parking lot where Riddle scooted off, and then the Creed brothers came up to MSK and said, the only way you're getting a tag team title shot is through the Dusty Tag Team Classic. And I went, why? They've just pinned the champions. By your own rules, WWE, that means they now get a title shot. Why do they?
No, Pete, you don't understand. This wasn't a championship contenders match.
No. I know you can make the argument that Riddle was the one that pinned. So, therefore, MSK didn't, right? You could make that argument. It's just so strange for them to come up with me the only way you're getting a tag team title shot is through the Dusty Classic. It's when has that ever applied? And when has that stopped anyone from challenging for any title ever? That's just not a thing. But yeah, they're trying to make it interesting, I guess. They've got 4, 5 tag teams now, so that's something. Can't wait for the Grizzled Young Vets to be knocked out in the first round. That's going to be fun.
Oh my God. Yeah, honestly. And I mean, there's it was a real throwaway line here where the Grizzled Young, not the Grizzled Young, the Creed brothers said something they talked about the tournament committee or something like that. And I was like, what committee? Piss off. It's such a throwaway line, but William Regal is dead or something. He's taken a sabbatical. He hasn't been seen on this show. There's no authority figures. You got Wagner attacking fans later in the show, and William Regal's nowhere to be seen. So don't talk to me about a committee that doesn't exist, like the Fox and USA war rooms. It's just a bunch of people a bunch of extras they paid $50 a piece. Oh,
There's also
like this that just takes me out of it. Because I hear that and I was like, bullshit. Excuse me.
But yeah, like, that's just wrong.
Incorrect. Yeah. Like, no, you've lost me.
Very stupid. But yeah, it's going to be Joe Gacy and Harlan that actually win, isn't it?
No. Don't wanna. What happened to Brian Kendrick? Did I miss something? I did watch last week's show.
He, I assume, had COVID. We don't know, but like there was a lot of last minute changes to NXT, and there was apparently part of the outbreak, and he wasn't there. So I assume COVID. I don't know. That's just speculation on my part, but he wasn't there. Like he no-showed. So who knows?
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it's slightly more understandable. But after that Dusty announcement, we got AJ Styles coming out to the ring, who was in full-on babyface mode here. I know he was positioned as the babyface in the AJ and Omos split angle, but he was like full babyface here, like soaking up the chance for the crowd, be like, oh, my fans, I could never do this without you guys. I've had so many highlights in my career, but that noise, I never gets old. I'm like, that's like full babyface. Goodness me. All right, cool. But he's saying, he does have some regrets in his career. He didn't start in NXT, but now he's here, and now he's going to be, he's never had a one-on-one match in NXT, and now he's going to do it. It's like, why didn't you do this promo 3 years ago? Come on, man.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine AJ Styles showing up? Like AJ Styles, Gallows, and Anderson taking on Undisputed Era in 2017, 2018. Like,
God. It's so good.
It could happen again. Go to a different company.
True, yeah. Totally could.
That's not going to happen, but,
Yeah. But then Grayson Waller came out and he said that the reason AJ lost to Omos on Raw was because he was too concerned of thinking about Grayson Waller. And then AJ said, hey, man, I've never had a one-on-one match in NXT before. I'm in my gear. Why don't we do it right now? And Grayson Waller said, no, I don't want to do it at New Year's Evil. I need a spotlight. What does that mean, Grayson Waller? You're on a TV special with limited ad breaks. What are you talking about, you numpty? And he said, we're going to do it at the main event of a regular episode of NXT next week.
I get it's a heel shtick, you know, but it's dumb. And it's always
got to be a heel shtick that makes sense, though. That's the thing.
Right?
And that just doesn't. It's like, we need a spotlight. It's like, you have the biggest spotlight you could have, aside from War Games. Like a takeover level spotlight. This is a TV special. This is a big spotlight. And he said, no, the main event of a normal episode of NXT is obviously much bigger. But whatever. It was fine. So they're going to fight next week.
Cool. I'm intrigued. I don't know what the finish of this is going to be. Because, AJ Styles is AJ Styles. And it's like, damn. Yeah. So you're going to lose to Grayson Waller? And if he doesn't, it's like, damn, why are... Yeah. So it's whatever. Yeah. My thoughts on all this were basically, and I may have said this on a previous podcast, but it's been a few weeks and I got a COVID brain, so whatever. AJ Styles having not wrestled the top stars of NXT really does just make me think that my idea of priorities in wrestling and WWE's ideas of priorities in wrestling are just so diametrically opposite. Yeah. The idea that you've had AJ Styles under contract for 6 years, and at no point during those 6 years could you find a time for him to wrestle Johnny Gargano. Yeah. That's a home run right there. Guaranteed, 5-star classic, maybe the best match WWE's ever had. Couldn't find a time in 6 years. That's ridiculous. But the same thing goes with Adam Cole, and list off as many names as you want from NXT. It just doesn't make sense at all that you have those guys under contract and you don't put them with your best in-ring workers. For goodness sake, look at the same thing. How many dream matches did we actually get out of Bryan Danielson's return run in WWE? it's like a small handful, you know?
Yeah.
But again, how did we not get Danielson versus Gargano? How did we not get Johnny Gargano against like every single top level worker in WWE? Because their priorities are just so totally different. Yeah. And that honestly is just like kind of depressing to me, you know? Whereas like, again, you don't want to compare everything to like AEW and stuff, but you look at AEW and they're just like, oh, we got Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega right off the bat. Like we got a dream match right here. People want to see MJF and CM Punk. Here it is. Look at the dream match. It's what you want. There's so many matches. And I'm not saying that like you got to have a dream match like every single month and get people burnt out or anything like that. You know, I'm not saying that. But the matches, look at them. You just put them together and let them do the work. And they don't do that. And it's sad. Also, I felt like this promo really did feel like it should have been cut like a year ago or 2 years ago.
100%.
You know,
absolutely.
It's like, the NXT fans and the passion and all that. It's like, you know, not
doesn't
so
quite ring true anymore, but that's okay. He's doing the phenomenal forum, but
you gotta say these things because it's the promo. It's the promo, but listening to the promo, I was like, this is a promo that should have been cut 2 years ago.
He's doing the phenomenal forum, but Grayson Waller got out of the way, so they're gonna have a match next week. Pete Dunne did a promo. He's gonna have a rematch with Tony D'Angelo, which was confirmed later in the show to be a crowbar on a pole match. Oh God. Oh no.
Oh boy.
That's not good.
No, I've said my piece.
Has there ever been, Tempest, fact check me on this one. Has there ever been a good blank on a pole match? Ever?
I don't want to say no, because I feel like there's been dozens of these things. There's probably been a halfway decent one at some point. Maybe. But for God's sake, like it's just the dumbest little match. Like, oh, it's on a pole. Let's take the thing that they want. Let's not have a ladder match where they gotta climb. Let's make them climb a fire pole. I'm Vince Russo, bro.
Sure, yeah, whatever. We need Luke in here to do his Vince Russo impression. Sure, whatever. We then had a backstage segment with Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter, and Amari Miller was also there. And they were chatting, and then Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta said something. I couldn't tell you what they said, just something about like, you're a tag team, and we're also a tag team, so yeah. And then they said, well, there's 3 of us, and there's 2 of you. You need a third or something. So then they turned around, and Tiffany Stratton was there, and she was like, no. And then went on the phone and said, Daddy, all these girls are gross, and then walked off. And then Wendy Chu was there, who's been sleeping a lot, remember, in the background of shots for a few weeks. And then they went up to her and they were like, who are you? And she goes, Wendy Chu. Like, they should know that. And then she like went back to sleep or something. That was the whole segment right there.
Show is really dumb. You know, like this show was better than normal. The show was much better than normal because it was primarily just long matches. It was matches given time, and that's it. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
Yeah. Hey, Luke.
Did someone ask for a Vince Russo impersonation?
Sure did, because we got a crowbar on a pole match next week on an NXT.
Crowbar on the pole match is the only way that NXT 2.0 gonna get over, bro. No one wants to see AJ Styles versus Johnny Gargano. They want to see Pete Dunne taking on some other guy with the thing on the pole. You get the pole down, bro. You climb the pole. You grab the thing. You get over, pal. It's the only way. Don't flippity-do. None of this pyro valley hoopla nonsense. I want to see poles, and I want to see him get over, bro.
Thanks, Luke.
Gone.
And he's gone. He took himself out, by the way. He just closed the tab. He was gone. Gone from the back end and everything. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it, mate. I'm assuming that was the booking process for the crowbar on the pole match. Thank you, Luke. Stuff just happens on NXT. Like, this whole backstage segment was like, what?
Yeah.
honestly, we spent too much time in it. Who cares? Here's something that took up time, so we also have time to talk about it. Imperium versus MSK and Riddle. So MSK recruited Riddle. He was their shaman after those terrible vignettes. And then you had Walter rejoined up with Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner to like re-put together Imperium. And I was like, God, I don't like seeing Walter on 2.0, but I do like seeing Walter. Always good, Eddie. As soon as he started coming out, I was like, it's only Walter in it. Oh, now I'm excited. Love Walter. MSK and Riddle had a DJ, apparently.
Yeah,
who did.
I like this entrance.
I mean, it was fine. I don't think he did anything because the music played the same as normal. So I thought if you'd have had a DJ, you'd have had some,
They remixed the two songs together at the start, and then they transitioned into the Riddle song.
Definitely wasn't paying attention.
Yeah,
cool.
I thought it was cool.
Well, in that case, good job, Mr. DJ person. Walter killed everyone. That was fun. He came in the match and he just started running wild and killing everyone. That was good fun. I enjoyed that bit of the match. That was good. And they had some really fun like 6-man action in this match, like they normally do in WWE multi-man matches. Lots of like big dives together and stuff like that. And like every time it would be like Fabian Eichner or Marcel Bartel be getting worked over, Walter would come in and he'd kill someone, which was great. That's exactly how Walter should be used. Well, then we got towards the finish of this one where Walter did a big drop kick, and I was like, "Oh god, that's awesome!" And then the Imperium guys did some good stuff where they threw off. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Wes Lee, and like Fabian Eichner caught him and did like this big brainbuster, and then he kicked out, and I was like, "Oh no, the babyfaces are winning, aren't they? Oh no!" And yeah, they did. Riddle pinned Marcel Bartel with an RKO, which. Like, I have so many mixed feelings about this because I understand why you want the babyfaces to win because they've just... MSK are back, they got their shaman. You don't want to have that storyline not pay off, You need them to get a big win on their comeback because you want to pay off that shaman story. They've refound themselves. They're going to be challenging for the tag team titles again soon. I understand you want to give them a big win, but also you've just reunited Imperium and they're the tag team champions, and also it's Walter. So, like... this is the first thing that he's probably done since losing the UK title. So, like, I feel like he shouldn't have lost in this match. So I don't know. I personally would have had Imperium win. But that's just me. It's hard for me to tell. It's really hard for me to tell whether I didn't like this result because I personally like Imperium or because it was a bad booking choice. Because I don't know whether I'm just a fan of the people that lost, I
think it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of both because the idea that Riddle is the one that gets the pin and then he leaves NXT is the complete opposite of what this style of booking is supposed to do. You're supposed to use the main event stars or the big stars who come in for a 2 or 3 week run, and then they give the rub to the younger guys that are going to be there every week, make them look like the stars, and then you move on and you forget that the big guy will not forget that he was there, but he's gone now, and now they're still there, so you make them the talking point. They didn't do that. Like, if MSK was going to beat Imperium, MSK should have beaten them. Riddle should not have gotten the pin here, and that's just that, And that completely takes that because you can beat the tag champions in a 6-man match in order to get a title shot. I don't think that is like horrendous booking, because that's pretty standard because there's extraneous circumstances that make it so the tag team can't work as best as they normally should. In theory, that's the idea. But when you actually look at it in a vacuum, it doesn't work. Because it's not just, they added a third person to their team and they lost because of it. No, it's Walter. It's the leader of their faction. The 3 of them are a faction. Riddle and MSK are not. They're kind of close. It's not just thrown together. There is some storyline there. But I don't think that the faction should be losing to the non-faction. And it's just, it's whatever. It doesn't matter that much, but it matters even less when you think that they're not getting a title shot based off of this. They got to go through the stupid Dusty Cup. It's whatever. It's all over the place. I don't expect good booking from NXT, but it's just like, It was a fun match, though, so I don't want to complain too much about it. Like, Riddle's great. MSK are still really good in ring. Imperium, it's a really fun clash of styles. Walter has the most unique style in WWE, so all of his matches feel fun and different. It's just good, you know? I love Walter. Yeah. I love him with all of my heart.
He's
also, I said this yesterday during my edited review, which no one will ever see. Can we do can we work with, probably not, but can we work with them to set up like a charity stream where I'll take one chop from Walter for every $1,000 that we raise? I've given up my body once for this. Yeah. I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Like, let's hey, you gotta turn down charity, WWE. You gotta turn down some, we're gonna make kids happy or something. I don't know. Pick a charity. I don't care which one. Let's make a difference.
Yeah. I'd like to do that.
Brutalize.
Get in contact, WWE. Yeah. I would have thought that with the announcement of the Dusty Cup and with MSK needing to go through the Dusty Cup to get another shot anyway, I would have thought that the story would be that they'd lose. Riddle would maybe take the pin here. You could have Walter pin him to like protect Riddle in defeat. But you could have him take the pin here, and then he can be like, all right, look, you can't just come back and expect to still be at the top. You need to earn your way back to another title shot. That was my bad. I'm going to have to go back to Raw now, but you guys have got the Dusty Cup, and I know you guys are never going to give up, so I know you guys can scratch and claw your way through that Dusty Cup, and now you're on the right track again. I know that you can get back to the tag team titles, win that Dusty Cup, and get your tag team title shot. I would have felt like that would have been fine if Imperium won.
Yeah, and even like if they just didn't do this match and they just did the story that MSK is trying to return to what they were, and the only way that they can do that is by winning the Dusty Cup, which would be fine considering I don't even know if they'd had a match since losing the titles, or they've just been having their spiritual weed adventure. You know, if that's just the case, like they haven't won or had a match in months. So it makes sense that they should have to go through the Dusty Cup to earn a tag team title shot. But no, that doesn't make sense because you had them beat the tag champions.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't do that.
Yeah. We're going to run through some of the rest of this because we've still got a few things to talk about. Joe Gacy and Harland are going to be competing in the Dusty Cup, but they don't want to get straight in. They want to prove that they're a legit tag team or whatever. They don't want handouts. So they're going to earn their way to get into it and qualify or something. Sure, whatever.
Good for them.
Mandy Rose arrived in a helicopter before her match, which we'll talk about in a second. But first, we need to talk about Elektra Lopez, who says that she's attracted to success. So it's going to be Zion Quinn versus Santos Escobar, and the winner leaves with Elektra Lopez. I'm pretty sure this was a plot point in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. So, the best movie of the series.
We're going to have an Elektra Lopez on a pole match.
Yeah, legit. Christ. Whatever. I don't really care. I'll be honest.
Yeah, the last match that these two had was like meh, so I'm not super excited for the rematch, but hopefully after this, the storyline can be done and over with.
Yeah. But then we had, as previously mentioned, the arrival of Mandy Rose in a helicopter for the Triple Threat Women's Championship match. Raquel Gonzalez, Cora Jade, and Mandy Rose. It's helicopter versus motorbike versus skateboard. The match
a mini skateboard.
A mini skateboard, specifically. Yeah.
I wonder who's going to win. They should have had a race.
They should have had a race. That's what they should have done, Tempest. You're right. That would have been the way to settle it. This match was pretty decent, though. I enjoyed it. Pretty decent pace through it. It had the standard kind of formula of going like singles match, one person rolls out, singles match, one person rolls out, singles match for a little while. They had some stuff interacting with all three of them. There's a few weapons during like the ad breaks, some kendo sticks and stuff like that. But then there was a weird bit of the match where Cora Jade got taken out of the match by Raquel Gonzalez on the outside of the ring. And then Mandy Rose, who, by the way, has been fighting in this match for like 10 minutes without an issue. She's just been, wrestling like a wrestler for like 10 minutes. Cora Jade then gets thrown outside the ring. Raquel Gonzalez inside the ring. And Mandy Rose starts looking down at Cora Jade like, oh no. Oh, wait. oh no, what? No, Cora Jade. Oh,
Killed her.
what? No, she's dead. Like, oh no, what? No. And then Raquel Gonzalez is like, you should get in the ring and fight me. And then Mandy Rose starts to run away. Why?
There's so much of this that didn't make any sense.
Like, what? Like,
this match was Mandy's idea.
Yeah,
and she
this
had
was Mandy's
this idea
plan.
after a street fight. After Raquel Gonzalez murdered Dakota Kai dead. Murdered her. She knows what she's capable of. But because there was one gorilla press slam, she's just like, can't wrestle this woman. She's too much for me.
Too much now. And like, if she'd been like running away through the rest of the match, if she'd been like avoiding conflict the whole match, and then finally like Raquel had like taken out Cora Jade and was like, right, you and me, let's go. And Mandy was like, uh-oh, I done goofed. I need to run away. That makes way more sense than her actually having a normal ass match for like 10 minutes. And then because of one gorilla press, she's like, I better run now. Like, wait, why?
Mhm.
What? I thought you were what? You were holding your own, fighting perfectly normally. Like, what's going on? It was a poorly told story, is basically what we're trying to say. I feel like there's a modicum of story in there. It's told very poorly. But then she gets to wrestles Raquel a bit. She gets choke bombed, but then Cora Jade breaks up that pin. They were telling this bit where Cora Jade was finally going to get her moment. Cora Jade crawling towards Mandy Rose to do a roll-up. Shining Cora Jade moment with a roll-up. And then Mandy rolled up Cora Jade instead, and then she won. Lol.
You're giving that way too much credit. This was the worst looking roll-up finish I think I've ever seen.
It was not good. It was not good.
I don't want to be harsh, but I did not think this match was very good. It was just like, it wasn't like train wreck horrible. It wasn't like a terrible match. No. It just was like, this was a match that felt like it was on a developmental show, which you could argue this is. But I could also argue that it's just a bad show. You know, in general, not this week's episode in particular, but in general. They seem to really love putting the green person in really complicated matches.
Right.
Which is a really, really stupid idea. And we saw this like with there was like the ladder match that was ridiculous a few months ago or whatever. And then there was like another triple threat match. I don't remember which of them was involved, the one triple threat match where someone got hurt and the whole match fell apart. It was like Io Shirai, Persia Pirotta, and somebody else. It just wasn't like, stop putting the green people in matches that are more complicated than they need to be. Because you can put Cora Jade in a match like this and not just put all of the crazy spots together involving her. Like, you can, I don't want to say dumb it down because that's not the point of all this. But you can hide the green person amidst the more experienced workers, which should be the point, to hide the weaknesses and show off the strengths. But they seem so content to just do everything possible to show off the weaknesses of the performance. And I don't understand that. I really don't understand it. And it's fine. It's whatever. It's not that big a deal. The match was still like, I watched it and I didn't like hate my life while I was doing it, but I watched this just being like, this doesn't feel like as big of a match as it probably should have. And then the match was real botchy and I was like, it left a bad taste in my mouth, but what can you do?
It seems to me like since 2.0 has launched, it seems to me that like they expect all these very green wrestlers to suddenly be as experienced and as smooth workers as all the NXT 1.0 people. It's like, well, that's not the same, because all the NXT 1.0 people had years and years of experience on the indies before they came to NXT. Whereas these guys are brand new and they go, okay, we're just going to do all the same stuff. We're going to do all the same matches, but here's all the new people. And it's like, but they can't work to the same level as all the old people. So it just comes off as them looking very inexperienced, because they are. And that's not great for the whole product. It makes it look very amateurish.
Look at the people that are now running this show, right? It's like Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and whoever. They've never done developmental TV. Ever. You look at all of the developmental systems that WWE's ever had, none of them were run by Vince McMahon as far as like hands-on, this is how we write the show, blah, 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 this is how I want the matches. Never, ever, ever. But because NXT is this weird like Franken show of half developmental, half main roster show, and he's sitting at the top of it now with his minions kind of overseeing everything, it's playing out like a main roster show with developmental talent, and that is a very poor mix. Because that's not how you develop talent. You look at the way that, Jim Cornette ran OVW. You look at the way that Jody Hamilton ran Deep South Wrestling. You look at the way that Les Thatcher ran Heartland Wrestling in Cincinnati. Like, there's all the different ways that you can develop talent properly by putting the young people in there with experienced people and showing off their strengths, hiding their weaknesses, and developing their talent and their everything. This is not how it's done. But they don't know how it's done because they've never done it. So I don't know that I should be upset, but also don't take Triple H out of the spot that he was good at because you lost AEW.
Yeah.
Man.
But it's okay, Tempest. But it's okay. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Do you know why it's okay, Tempest? You ready?
Why is it okay?
Hold on. I'm seeing double here. 4 Boas.
Oh man!
Oh no!
I'll be honest. He came on the screen. I went to the bathroom. I was like, I'm not doing it this week. I've got color. I'm not wasting my time watching Boa look in a mirror or something.
He looked in a mirror. He washed his face and he was like, "Well, I can't control it. Please just let me face Solo Sikoa by myself." And then he washed his face and he looked up and there was another Boa next to him with face paint on. 4 Boas. I don't even. What?
Oh man,
it's very stupid. We then had the MSK Creed Brothers thing. I'm not going to talk about Boa anymore. MSK Creed Brothers thing happened, and then we had Andre Chase coming out to the ring, and this was stupid because he was saying, "You missed this segment last week, Tempest." Oh boy, where Andre Chase got beaten up. Yeah, Andre Chase got beaten up, and then some dude in an Andre Chase University sweater was like checking on Andre Chase, being like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Andre, are you okay? Oh my God, Andre Chase. Oh my God." And then Haaland picked him up. And then way later in the show, we saw Haaland on the roof with the guy. And then Joe Gacy was like, "I think he's learned his lesson." So then he put him on the roof and then they walked off. That was the segment. That was the whole thing from last week.
You know what my reaction to that would have been?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good.
It really tickled me when I saw that.
It
really did.
That's a very good mask from that person in particular. Goodness me, that's a great mask. But anyway, so this week, Andre Chase came out and he was like, "Due to that man's actions that was looking out for me last week, he gets a full Andre Chase University scholarship." And I was like, what does that even mean? You don't have a university. What does that mean?
So stupid. So stupid. You know, like, okay.
Also, I thought he was a heel. What's going on?
Sure. This guy got Student of the Month. Congratulations. You know, like Timothy Thatcher, because Andre Chase is just a cartoon version of Timothy Thatcher. Sure. Timothy Thatcher won his matches. So it made sense that people would want to learn to wrestle from him. Andre Chase is a loser who loses all of his matches. It does not make sense that there are people that want to pay him to learn anything, but I just want someone to tell me what the point of this is. And if there isn't a point, stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they dedicate so much time to Andre Chase and whatever all of this is, and there's no point to any of it. And that's why I feel like half of this show is a waste of time. Because we still get so much time dedicated to people that don't matter.
Well,
like the next guy.
Great segue, Tempest, because here comes Von Wagner. Oh my God.
Von Wagner, you say? That's not what he called himself. Man messed up his own name. I'm like, you people come out here to see Von Wagner. I am just absolutely gobsmacked by Von Wagner's existence every time I see him. He was a ghost on SmackDown that one time. It was never brought up again. Apparently his call-up was nixed by Vince. I don't know. And then he comes out here and messes up his own name. He starts attacking fans. What? What is the point of any of this? Why couldn't his name have been Baron Von Wagner? Like
much better.
That's a much better name. Is it because we already had one Baron and apparently two people can have the same title?
But now he's gone from Baron to Happy, which is a different title, I think. So can't have that anymore.
Give him Baron Von Wagner.
Also, he came out and cut a quick promo. And he said, when I step in the ring, I become your new favorite superstar. I was like, nobody said that! Not one person! Find me the one person that has said Von Wagner is my new favorite superstar.
Can I get a shirt that just says like can it be the shirt of shame? Like if you lose Wrestle League, you have to wear a shirt on a podcast that says Von Wagner is my new favorite superstar. God, this show sucks. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I say that too often. It just comes out of me when I'm talking about NXT. This show was fine, but anything that wasn't wrestling on this show was Von Wagner. Von Wagner.
Von Wagner, yeah.
Von Wagner.
Yeah. We then got more Von Wagner because he was being escorted out of the building after attacking some members of the audience. And then he laughed at Ivy Nile and Roderick Strong. And I'm assuming that's probably going to lead to a Roderick Strong Von Wagner feud, which is what everybody wanted.
Poor Roddy. He's looking on the outside and seeing the rest of Undisputed Era having fun. Mm-hmm. He's feuding with Von Wagner. They took Von Wagner from Kyle O'Reilly and gave him to Roderick Strong.
God. Cameron Grimes then recapped his 2021 and said this time he's going to start looking for some gold. 2020 to the moon.
Woo. Yeah, I don't know how he hasn't been a North American champion or something yet. Seems like the kind of tier of guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He challenged for it when Keith Lee was champ, but I think he lost. So, yeah, maybe now he can go after Carmelo. That'd be a fun feud. I'd be into that. Carmelo with Cameron.
Let's do it. That sounds fun.
Yep. Then we had the main event match that we'd already spoken about, Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa. That was the show overall. By the normal standard of NXT 2.0, the normal weekly TV standard, this is a 7 out of 5. As an actual wrestling show, this is probably like a 3 or a 4. I'm going to go with a 4. I left with that wasn't bad. That was good.
I thought it was like a high 3, which might sound harsh because I know people really like this show, but I wasn't like totally blown away by any of the matches on this show. I thought the opener was good. I thought the 6-man tag was good. I thought the main event was good, but like, I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot that was just like, bam, you got to go out of your way to watch this match.
So, yeah. That's very fair. Yeah. I thought it was a good show, and that's what, and that's significantly better than normal. Like usually when we say it's a 3, it's because like, oh, there's something good on the show, and then there's a bunch of like utter garbage on the show, so it balances out to being a 3. This was like, no, it was just solid in the middle 3, good show. Yeah. That's my rationale behind it. It was like, it's solid. Yeah. Let's get into the rest of your Ultra Chats here, though, and finish those off. Last chance to get those in at WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll go through all the ones that are $5 and up by the time the show goes off the air. Nicholas Lama said, here's the sad news. I don't think the 2.0 crowd cares who Walter is, which is depressing as all hell. I also don't think that Riddle makes MSK any cooler or bearable.
Well, I mean, he's not a miracle worker.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a shame because Walter's amazing. I don't know how. I mentioned this last week. I don't know how you can have MSK get booed, go away and do terrible vignettes week on week on week, come back and get cheered. How does that work?
Maybe because I mean it's the same people that go to these shows, right? It's more or less the same crowd. It's the same 300 people in Florida. So maybe they just don't pay attention to vignettes and stuff when they air during the building. And they just haven't seen these guys in like 6 months or 4 or 5 months now. And they just see them again and go, hey, it's MSK again. You know, that's my best explanation. You take them off TV, you take people off NXT 2.0 and their stock rises. It's an indictment, but what can you say?
Here's my conspiracy theory. I reckon that the crowd are not necessarily paid, but they're instructed on how to react. I reckon
it's like an applause sign,
or it's like a it's like here's how we want you to react.
Yeah,
you should do that. And people are like, okay, maybe, because I haven't heard. We always get people being like, oh, I went to AEW last night, it was such a good time. Like on Raw review yesterday, we had people being like, oh, I went to Raw yesterday, it was a really good time. I was like, that's awesome, that's great. And not once have I heard someone be like, oh, it's part of the NXT crowd recently. Like not one person. So like if someone's been part of the NXT crowd, please get in contact with me. I want to know if they are actual fans in that building, or if it's like they're instructed or they're paid. I don't know. Conspiracy. Put your tinfoil hat on, because they react to a lot of stuff that I did not think they'd react to. I don't know. Anyway, Jack Nichols said that show was all right. Not as good as the Takeover. Not by a forestry mile. Sure. Welcome. Oh, I get it. Forest. I get it. Well done, Jag. I appreciate your humor. Welcome back, Tempest. Hopefully you can rein in Pete. He's been on a rampage. Dude talking about all sorts of secretion since you've been on and blaming co-hosts. So
I don't want to know.
All I can say is, Tempest, it was Andy. So inevitably we spoke about poo, because that's what Andy does.
For God's sake.
I know. Hannah Allen said, mentioned last Ultra Chat, I wasn't WWE active. Turns out I'm silly, lol. I'd been active till the other night. Can still New Year's Eve or New Year's Evil. Turns out you can cheat code. I didn't use them though, because let's face it, not me. I like the set. Hashtag LIW444life. I don't know what you said, Hannah, I'll be honest.
Sometimes they're easier to decipher than others. I hope the drink was good, Hannah.
Message me on Patreon, Hannah, to tell me what you actually meant, because she often messages to be like, this is what I actually meant. James Handley says, with just his head and his arms visible, I think Tempest is Haunter's new Canadian form. In regards to NXT, remember that mass hallucination we all had when we thought we saw Von Wagner on SmackDown? That's what I'm saying. Never forget. It's the best segment of 2021.
Yep. Never forget. Sami Zayn, it's a conspiracy. He's the only person that can see him.
Yeah, absolutely. Always Be Scamming says, I haven't been watching WWE since the Keith Lee release, but I have watched most of the reviews while at work. Based on how you talk about NXT 2.0, my money is on Jacket Time winning the Dusty Classic. Yeah, they're going to, aren't they?
Like, pick whichever is the worst option, and that's the one they're going to do. Is it Harland and Gacy, or is it
Jacket Time?
Two?
Yeah. Hope all is well with everyone in the WrestleTalk fam. Thank you very much. Always be scamming. Riot TR says, me again. I forgot to tell Tempest Happy New Year, and that I wish for only good things to happen to him. Also have a bad idea. Von Wagner becomes Tony D, silent and violent muscle. Tony gets booze and Wagner doesn't have to talk. LIW for life. It's better than him coming out and cutting promos.
Yeah, if it means Von Wagner doesn't have to talk. Like, his only strength is that he's big. So if you just want him to stand behind somebody, cool. That's a good use of his talents.
Perseus M said, I know the perfect charity that WWE would love to work with. The World Wildlife Fund. Nice. I like it.
Funny.
Perfect, yeah. Let's get that going. Let's get the water chops going. Let's get a hashtag going. Hashtag Tempest Water Chops for charity.
For charity. It's a bit long. We'll work on
catchy. It. Yeah. Well, it's catchy. We'll brainstorm it. It'll be fine. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of the NXT podcast. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I'm going to be back tomorrow with Luke. Going to be reviewing AEW Dynamite, the first episode of Dynamite on TBS. Ollie is away, so it's going to be me and Luke doing it tomorrow. We're going to have the normal Friday show, I think. It's going to be Luke and Denise back on Friday. Me and Tempest back on Saturday for Rampage and SmackDown. Getting back into the swing of things in the new year. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you're watching on Catch Up, please press the videos that have just appeared on the screen to catch up with more awesome WrestleTalk podcast content, and the button in the middle to make you become a pledge hammer over on our Patreon page. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. I have been John Pete Quinnell. I've been joined by my intangible co-host, Tempest, LIW, for life, Jam the Jam.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Goodbye. Oh, God. Don't do it, Tempest. Come back. You're in the void, Tempest. Come back.